Hey guys, welcome back, it's Meg. Today we're going to be running a 23 Mists. It is a Fortified, Bursting, and Storming week, and you can find my Legendary in the top right, my talent choices and trinkets in the bottom right, and my stat weights in the top left. Because we have a rogue, we're going to go ahead and shroud this first pull. We do end up doing this because this first tree set with the jumping adds is really dangerous, and it's not that much count for how long it takes and how many cooldowns you have to commit to it. And just a little side note, when you are shrouding through it, make sure you're not walking too close to the trees because they do have true sight, but you can make it through all the way without getting caught. This key was the first time I had done the incinerator with the Soul Cleaver pack before, so I went ahead and used all of my cooldowns kind of right off the bat because it was fortified and I wasn't quite sure how much damage to expect. I don't do this on tyrannical weeks, but I think that I would probably pull this the same way on fortified weeks just because there are casts going out, especially with the comps that I usually run. We are a bit short on kicks as we run 2 ranged, but I do fall off a little bit towards the end of the incinerator as all my cooldowns dropped, and then you're relying solely on mana. So I think I would have done this the same way on a fortified week, but I would definitely hold Crane for the second half of Arcalath on tyrannical weeks. On this pack, again, because it is fortified week, what our aim to do here is push them both at the same time, and then we are going to run where we will be leaving the boss room when we finish it over by Diamond. You can see in the back. You can range the Thrash, and it makes it a lot easier, especially after that first pull when we don't really have any defensive cooldowns. I don't have any healing cooldowns. It just makes this whole pull a lot less stressful. Pushing to 50% here, I'm going to go ahead and start making my way over to the save area. One's pushed, and there goes the second, and we're just going to go ahead and get out of there. We're going to take a couple of ticks, but you should be able to get far enough before it actually kills anyone. Right here we're just grabbing the Executioner with a Hunter Pet, and we're going to go ahead and kill this before we do the first boss. Every time I get charged with the Carnage, I do try to roll out of it. It hasn't worked, and I don't think it's going to work, but if you are going to commit a defensive like Fort Brew to it, make sure that you use it after the ability has gone off, because there is a chance that you can dodge it, and with as few defensives that Mistweavers have, you really want to hold on to them and not use it unless you definitely need it. especially on Fortified weeks, is a little bit boring on the healer side of things. You just want to make sure you're doing as much damage as you possibly can. I know that Mistweavers don't bring a whole lot in that aspect, but I do use Fallen Order to get just a little bit of damage on the tree there to get him into the push phase. The biggest time sink in this dungeon is definitely this first boss. If you don't phase it quickly enough, if you go 2 or even 3 phases, especially on those tyrannical weeks, it will slow you down way too much, probably by like 2 or 3 minutes. Most of the time, if you're going to rip a mist key, it's going to be on this first boss. We had a pretty good first phase, and we're just going to go ahead and 2 phase it here. It is a 23, so it'll take a little bit more, and without Ivanthir Boomkin, it doesn't come quite as easily. But we do have a good clean first phase, and we're just going to go ahead and do the tree again and have one more boss phase and before we move on to the maze. Something I like to do as a monk here is just drop my Transcendence at the correct door. You can see I drop it off at the stump there. It's not super important. You can also use a world marker. I just like to use my Transcendence because it's easier for me. We're also going to be pulling the right side door because she did end up going left, and we want to make sure that we can get the count that we need to make sure that we get through the maze as quickly as we can, and we don't have to do too much after the maze. I didn't need to tag everything before I started doing the maze because we have Jazzy, who is also playing a monk. He gives them the debuff that they need. I also went ahead and used Fort Brew because I did get a bite and I was not ready to start healing yet because I wanted to make sure that we got the maze correctly. Again, drop my Transcendence there, and we're just going to go ahead and DPS these down before we head into the next room. went ahead and pulled through the wall here just to get that extra bit of count. We are going to end up pulling this into the boss. I do get the anima injection there and I diffuse it off, but something to be aware of is you can see the circle still there, and that's what chunks our tank into the DPS. When that explodes after you defuse it, it still does do damage to your targets, so make sure that you are letting your melee and your tank know if you defuse that off so they can be aware of the circle and just know that they're going to be taking some damage. One death right here, and that was just the dodgeball death. It's not really anything you can do about that. That was just on them to dodge. We're gonna go ahead and pick them up real quick because we want to make sure that we are finishing this boss off, and we do have 2 more B reses after that res has gone off already as well. Something to be mindful of on whether or not you skip SOG, you want to make sure that your tank and your healer / DPS are comfortable with taking those heavy melees from the last boss. Prot Warrior would probably be okay, we just wanted to be safe, we had plenty of time. I know personally when we leave Sagadon up, I do get eaten alive by those worms. They hit pretty hard. I only have a couple of things to take care of myself in that aspect, and if I get it, if I get unlucky and I get multiple fixates in one, it gets pretty scary on the last fight. us. We don't want them in our route. We've got enough percent, and they are a little bit much to deal with on a fortified week, as those poisons hurt pretty bad. Into the last boss, we went ahead and skipped Oros, so we are going to be a bit slow. Something to keep in mind if you do have Way of the Crane up. If you need to really get out of something, you can use Crane as a freedom type effect, so you can move at full speed. Just make sure that you're not ruining it for other melee by running over them, because your puddles move as fast as you do, so try to keep it moving pretty slow, as everyone else is also going to be slow. So right here I decided to use Crane because I have the Mind Link. I also have the Fixate here, so I want to be able to get back in and make sure that I can get some healing running before I actually have to, you know, stand and channel myself because of the larva. We got about 5 minutes left on the timer, and that brings us to the end of our 23 mists. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. You can also leave a comment down below. I'll post links to the Mistweaver FAQ and the Mistweaver guide for 9.1 in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video.